All right, so obviously, guys, as you can tell, I kind of like cut the vlog short just because I didn't want to bore you all with the monotonous scenery of the Midwest. Pretty much after you leave Omaha and you get to Kentucky, it's like literally the same thing. It's just a different shade of green and a different level of corn. So we've gone over a couple of the tips and kind of the secrets for like better content and how to create better content. I figured it would be a good idea. I figured it'd be basically a lot better than just me talking to you all as far as content goes. So I actually have two of my good friends, Aaron and Jimmy from the Punctually Late Show. I've mentioned them several times on the channel. Link will be in the description below. And obviously they're content creators just like me, a different kind of content, obviously. And that's kind of like what this whole video and vlog has been about is there's not just one type of content. It's more so whatever you're creating and that substance that we talked about, your content is just substance and that's what you're producing for people. And there's just like a different genre of it and a different kind. So, yeah, this is Aaron. This is Jimmy, Punctually Late Show. So basically, guys, the question is what are some like secrets and what are some like good what is some good advice as far as how to create better content? We've gone over consistency, the quality of the content you're putting out. We've gone over the confidence and how, people don't really notice that you are confident, but if you're not confident, they can 100% tell like, oh, this is an absolute train wreck and this is absolutely not good. So, yeah, what do you all, whoever wants to go first, like, what do you all think has been the biggest difference from the time you've started Punctually Late Show to now that's helped your content get better?
You want me to go first?
Yeah, man, go ahead.
Well, I think for us, like, so going back to just the how the show even got started, we just have always realized we've been friends for a long time, and we've always noticed that in our conversations, people would literally just stop what they were doing and stand there and look at us.
Yeah.
Like they didn't really want to talk to us. And it may have been because we just kind of dominated the
we
conversation.
just railroad everything that ever happened.
But people would stop what they were doing. They would stand there and they would just look at us while we were having our conversation. And so we always kind of joked about the fact that we could literally just do that in a podcast format or just do that and record it and put it out there and people would probably listen to it. And so I think for us, like, this is just what you hear on our show is just natural conversation that we've always had, but we've just kind of had to refine it and figure out like what our niche is, I guess, and
right.
like what we do the best talking about. I mean, but like you can give us any topic.
And I mean, we're going to say something about
We're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
And so our content is not something that's forced. It's not something that we necessarily have to sit down and think like, okay, how do we get from point A to point B?
Right.
It's just a natural conversation and people listen to it. You know what I mean?
Right. So would you say like as far as would you say that it's been kind of like a authenticity thing? Like you all don't really, one of the reasons I like listening to you all is because it's like literally you all, and it's like I've known you for a while over social media,
Yeah.
and of course like you did our wedding, mine and Elena's wedding, all that stuff, and then I just met Aaron for the first time like in person today. So, but I mean we talk over social media almost every day,
Right.
like to the point where Jimmy calls us gay, and it's like really mean. Like so, but like it's one of those
Hated
things. Yeah, so it's one of those things where like I appreciate like you all are authentic, and like especially in this week's episode, like you all even mentioned like, hey, we're just being ourselves, and we're you all didn't use the word authentic, but you were basically saying like we're authentic, and you may not like who we are, and that's okay. but like this is who we are,
Right.
and these are the conversations we
Yeah,
have.
I think that's the biggest thing. Like
Yeah.
when you're putting out content, you have to be comfortable with it first.
Right.
Like you can't put something out that like you can tell when content is forced or when someone is sitting down like trying to produce something or whatever it is. Like it can be a video or any kind of art or whatever it is. Like you can tell when someone's not just in their element.
Right.
And for us, what we do is just, I mean, we just naturally do what we've always done.
Yep.
And we try to do it in a format where it's entertaining for people to be a part of.
Yeah.
And I think that's what, like for us, what people enjoy the most is just being drawn into the conversation.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times too, like if you can tell the people that sit down and type into the YouTube search bar like how to do this one thing,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, how do you do a video podcast? It's like, well, you've got to perform and you got to have the gestures and you
Right.
got to say things the right way. And I'm like, I'm not ever under any circumstance going to do those things, right? And who we are, it's just, I mean, every conversation we have, whether there's a microphone in front of us or not, you're going to get the exact same thing.
Right.
Yeah, if you're a content creator, then like if you have this desire in you to create something. So let's say you want to do a podcast. I think you have to first figure out what do you actually enjoy.
Right.
You know, what is something that comes natural to you.
Right.
So what, you know, if you enjoy hunting arrowheads, then do a podcast on that. You know, build an audience around what it is that you love, what it is that you enjoy. Because if you try to get on something and fake it,
Yeah.
then
And
it's
I mean,
not going to
people
be
can see
it's
through
not going to be
that.
enjoyable for anybody.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and not only that, I think the biggest thing for us was, so at the beginning of this, we said, okay, if we have a problem area, what are we going to fall back on? And we essentially began saying, like, this is a podcast for dads. And, like, and
Yep.
then we realized, like, we don't have a niche. Like, we don't have an area or a
Right.
genre really to fall into, to the point that
Yeah.
on our podcast server, it asks you, what category do you want to be in? And we're like,
We don't have one.
we don't have one because we can't really pinpoint who our audience really is. Because
Right.
we're just two guys trying to, A, we're enjoying our conversation together. B, we know that people enjoy listening to us talk. And C, if that's the case, then other people elsewhere might enjoy that too. So we can't really put the box. We don't fit the box. So we have to naturally be outside the box and try to create our own box.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah,
the best thing for us that's ever happened, was just saying, like, hey, we don't need a niche. We just have what we have, and that's it.
It
Yeah.
reminds me of I don't know who said this. I hear like old people say it a lot. Like if you're 70 years and older, you've probably said this a million times, and it's like it's the saying. The best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. The second best
Is now.
is now.
Yeah.
And it's like I did this so much, and like my YouTube used to just be like client work, like to preview. You know, like every video had a copyright strike because I didn't care about licensing and all that stuff. It was just, hey, here's your video, just go look at it. And then the longer I'd leave them up, the more I'd realize, like, wait a second, like, this B-roll video of a hair salon that I made all of a sudden has 500 views, and I literally put it there for one person to see. And it's like, well, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. And then 6 months goes by. Well, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. And then 7 months goes by. And it's like, well, maybe I'll start a YouTube channel. And all of a sudden it's years, and it's like, well, why didn't I do it? And it's the whole best time to plant a tree is 10 years ago. Second
Right.
best is now. And I like feel like people feel like they're not adequate enough. Like it's like, oh, I'm not good enough at this to make a podcast, and no one wants to listen to me, or I'm not smart enough or anything like that. And my whole basis for anything as far as advice would go is like, A, we all start somewhere.
Yep.
So it's like, Jimmy, you pastoring, it's like, you're not the smartest theologian in the world. You know what I mean?
No.
So it's like, and none of us are. But the thing is like, for lack of better terms, there's dumber Christians than you.
Right.
So therefore, like, you are somewhat qualified already. And like my whole thing about creating content is it's like, if you are a fraction or a hair better than 49% of people out there, you're automatically qualified. Because it's like, you can take the most minute basic thing for content, like your all's brackets. You know what I mean? Like, I hear them on the radio all the time. I hear them on the news all the time, and I don't care. But, like, you get two guys who are, like, best friends sitting down talking about why Friends sucks or why Frasier's good, you know, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, this is interesting. And it's like, well, what does Jimmy and Aaron, like, what qualifications do they have to even tell me the show I like sucks? And it's like, you don't need qualifications.
Right.
So, like
Yeah.
you talking about, like, just getting in there and doing it, and it's
Yeah.
like, this is just who you all are. It reminded me of that quote that it's like, a lot of people just think, like, oh, I couldn't do it, or
Right.
I shouldn't do it, when 9 times out of 10, like, in 5 months, you're going to be like, should have done it.
Yeah.
Should have done it.
Well, dude, listen, like, so I think Aaron would agree with this. When you do create content, I think the first person that you have to create content for is yourself.
Why? That's it.
Yeah.
And like what we always said, we talked about doing a podcast for years before we actually did it.
Yeah.
And we just joked about it mainly, but we literally would look at each other and go, we could do that. We could put that.
Why
we could
don't we do
record
this?
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, whenever we would have meetings at the Huddle House when Aaron got off work and before I went to work, we would sit down at the Huddle House and we would have a cup of coffee and some awesome diner food,
Hash browns, baby.
and we
All
would
the way?
No,
yeah.
just broken egg yolk all over the hash browns.
Yeah.
Like how I'm
yeah,
here
we
for
we
it.
don't need
Oh,
all
man.
that extra stuff.
Listen, for all
Maybe
my
a slice of American cheese or something.
For all my Midwest people watching, like, that's one thing I put on my Instagram story today was like, hey, I got, like, mountains back, trees back, Lee's famous recipe back,
Yes.
and we got Waffle House and Huddle House. They don't exist up there.
Really?
They
Oh,
don't
that's a
exist
shame.
up there. So it's like,
Hey,
That's a
but
shame.
what is it? Lisa's Radio Cafe in Omaha.
Lisa's Radio Cafe.
That's the bomb.
Shout out.
And that
Yeah.
might be the best breakfast I've ever had, to be honest
It's
with
pretty
you.
good.
So
It's pretty
i-
good.
if I had that to wake up to every day, I would honestly be
I
pretty
mean,
happy.
I had a continental breakfast at like a Holiday Inn once. So it was all right.
But we would have those meetings, and it was funny because we would just sit there and like write down, okay, what could we do shows on, and we were trying to figure out, okay, where would we fall,
Right.
what would our content be, and we would talk to each other and be like, you know, what does success look like? You know, if we commit to this and we do it, what does it look? What's going to keep us doing it?
Right.
And I think what we finally decided was like, we're doing this for us.
Yeah.
You know, we're literally going to do this because we enjoy it
Yep.
and because we want to do it. And if people want to come along for the ride, then that'll be awesome. But for us, it's an itch that we just had to scratch. Like we couldn't not do it and feel good about it.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, I mean, you got to think too, especially in our context, is you have two dads who, between the two of us, have 9 children. We both work full time. I work swing shift, and Jimmy is a pastor at our church, so he's basically taking on a second job. So when you have a lot going on, and you realize we need that time away to kind of break out, and we got to make the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
We have to make the time to say this thing that we do is good, not just for everybody else, but first and foremost, it's good for our souls to have a reason to come together and just enjoy each other's company, but B, just laugh and
Yeah.
let go of the cares of the world a little bit to say, hey, at this moment right now, this is a peaceful time for us. This is a time for us to really enjoy like a Sabbath rest with each other.
Right.
I mean, essentially that's
Yeah,
what it is,
it's,
right?
It's an enjoyment, and like you're gonna have critics too,
Yeah.
because and we've kind of taken over your whole show here.
No,
but
the like, not funny, but the interesting thing is like, you all haven't seen anything I've been filming all day, because like I've been stopping at truck stops and like even stopped on the side of the road today to like just film some like just little bitty tips that like have helped me along the way. But like you all just said where basically like I was trying to get all day, which is if you're not making content for yourself, like it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Like you can take everything I said about being consistent, throw it out of the window.
Mm-hmm.
Take everything about quality, throw it out the window. And you can take everything about mixing it up and take literally everything about being confident and throw it away. Because when you're creating for other people or your listeners or your watchers on YouTube, like eventually they're going to change.
Yeah.
And eventually you're going to get new subscribers, and all of a sudden it's a war. We want the behind the scenes videos. We want the bracket talks. And it's like, you're never going to be consistent. You're never going to have good quality, and you're never going to be confident if at the end of the day, when you sit down, you edit the podcast, you edit the video, you edit the graphic, you edit whatever you're editing and you're creating, whatever content you're creating. At the end of the day, it's never going to be fulfilling, and it's never going to work for you if it's not for you. So like when you said like, hey, you have to be the first one to like it. Like it has to pass your, it has to pass your screening.
There's no
like,
doubt.
Right.
Like one thing I said about confidence earlier today was like people never notice when you are confident. They notice when you're arrogant, but they never notice when you're confident. Everyone notices when you're not confident.
There's no doubt, man.
There's no doubt. And it's like, and sometimes it's embarrassing to like look back on times that I haven't been confident, because it's like, well, that's been obvious, Like when I first started out preaching, sometimes I'd like mess up a word and I'd be like, oh, I'm sorry. And it's like, what are you doing? Like, just go on, It's like,
It's hilarious. I spent a long time serving as a minister of music, and I always kind of made this joke during my time. I mean, I've always been a preacher, but I spent a long time in the church serving in that particular role of leading worship. And one of the things that is hilarious is no one really notices if a preacher messes a word up. You mess up a word in a song,
You're done.
and everybody is sitting in their seat going,
it's like that long gray-haired worship pastor. I'm going to plug that like right now. But he's singing Angel Armies, and he's like,
oh, that's my favorite. That is my favorite video I
But
think
it's
I've
just
ever
like,
seen.
It's just like, that is hilarious because that's so true. Like, if you mess up word preaching, you can literally just re-say it. But
Oh, yeah,
there's
no one
going
bats an
back
eye.
when
No
you're
one bats
singing
an
it.
eye.
But it's like, I'm glad that, like, we got to where we were at, because that's essentially what I wanted to end it on, is, like, the main key to, like, producing any type of content, whether you're an author of a book or whether you're a podcast or whether you're a videographer or even a musician, whatever it is like, you've got to find enjoyment in it.
Mm-hmm.
And like, you have got to find some source of joy and whatever and however you get there. Like, it's just not sustainable if you're doing it for other people. And sure, maybe it is sustainable, but it's just so much harder. And like, there's so many things that I could do. I could spend so much money on gear to review it. And like, that's my videos about gear reviews get so much more views than like my vlogs and stuff. It's like, I don't enjoy it. And like, sure, halfway through the day when I'm vlogging, I'm like, oh gosh, what did I do? But it's like moments like this. And when I get it all in Premiere Pro and I'm editing it and stuff, it's like, oh, that's cool. Like, there's so many of my days I'll never get back. But like, if God forbid something happened to me, like Elena has like so many videos to look back and be like, oh, look at this dork talking to this camera on the side of the road in Missouri. And it's like, it ultimately comes down to, I enjoy this, and
that's it, man. I would you say, Aaron, that it's like there's a lot of balance that comes into play with it, because like you do have to primarily do it for yourself.
Yeah.
You've got to love what you do. You've got to be like sold on it. If you're not sold on it, then nobody else is going to be sold on it.
Well, and it goes back to your confidence, right? If you're not sold on it, then your confidence goes to the sewers, right?
Yeah, and the fact that other people enjoy it that's like the bonus of it.
It's the other people enjoying it is the reassurance that you need to say, like, okay,
keep doing it.
I'm struggling through a time right now where I'm finding any enjoyment through this, and it's out of nowhere. Someone just says, like, I listened to your episode today, and I could not help but to get out of the funk that I was in.
Yeah.
Because we've had times where just like we're just doing the show, just being us, and it's always on our mind, like, are we doing it right? Are we doing things right? And then somebody would come with like, hey, I'm really struggling through life right now, and I tuned into your show, and I laughed for the entire hour, and it literally just kind of changed my perspective on the little things in life.
Yep.
So, and something else that I got two things that I wanted to kind of piggyback off what you said. It's funny because we actually mentioned to each other, if something happened to us, we're leaving files for our kids to actually hear our voices, right?
Yeah.
And that's something that we can say, like, not everybody gets the opportunity to leave I don't want to say a legacy, but something behind where you can actually hear your loved one's voice, right?
Something concrete.
Yes.
Where it's like, it used to be
a
like,
comfort of the past, right?
yeah. And like, that was the first thing I talked about. When I say, like, I'm a professional content creator, like, I threw away the videography title, all that stuff. Like, I just produce content, and, like, one of my favorite synonyms for content is substance. And, like, that's what I aim to bring my clients and even my friends and things like that, is, like, my content is substance. You know what I mean? So, like, you all, like, if God forbid anything happened to you all, like, that's, like, should be the, like, a big check for you all, is, like, oh, we have something of substance here that's like, this is going to be cool for, you know, like Jen or Amy to look back on. And, like, even if, like, you all live till you're 99 years old and croak, like, it's still out there.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like, it's one of those things where my mind just works in ways like this, but if something happened to Jimmy, that would be my opportunity to piece together, like, this montage of things that made other people feel good to play at a funeral or play at the graveside or something, so people can really take it in and celebrate a life of just like, hey, this is who he was. This is the kind of stuff that he left behind. Like, I know that you're sad now, but remember who he is and how much joy he brought to other people, right?
I feel like I'm at my funeral right
No,
now.
but it's true.
He's planning.
It's true, right?
planning
But I mean,
your
like, I think about that kind of stuff. Like, how cool would that be
Yeah.
just to have, like, a montage of just encouraging things, funny things, just played at a funeral.
Yeah, man.
Right.
That's the thing, man. It's about doing it. It's about doing it because you love it, because you enjoy it. And, like, if you don't do it for that reason, then I think the critics will derail you.
Right.
Because there's going to be and not every criticism is bad criticism. Because sometimes people will bring you criticism, and my initial reaction to criticism is often to go like, well, who are you? You know?
Right.
But
I'm so much better than you. What do you think?
Thankfully, the Lord has brought me to this place in my own life where, like, even though that might be my initial reaction, I try not to say that, and I try to sit there and listen to it and bear it, and then inevitably what will happen is there'll be some fruit that comes from that.
Yeah.
So criticism is good. It's good to hear that, but there'll be some people that no matter what you're putting out, no matter what your intentions are, there's going to be people that trash it.
Yeah.
And it won't necessarily be constructive criticism.
Yeah.
It'll be people trying to tear you down. That's happened to me with this show. I had someone not too long ago say, you know, that's much to do about nothing. It's just vain. And my response was, you're correct. It's much to do about nothing. It is vain. It's literally a hobby.
Yeah.
It's something that we're, you know, we do because we enjoy and because we put ourselves out there. And so, you know, but that criticism, even though I think it was meant to, like, be a barb, that criticism is not, it doesn't derail me because I know what we put out. I enjoy it. You know what I'm saying?
My mom is big on, like, she's always saying, like, know your why.
Yeah.
Like, know your why. And, like, that's so important. And, like, I've had several conversations with you. Like, one of the reasons that, like, I'm on a sabbatical from ministry right now for, like, however long I need to take. And it's, like, one of the things I really love about producing content is I have such a great opportunity to, like, help people. And like, my why is, it's like, oh, like, I need to feed my family and you need to feed your family. Let's meet in the middle. You know what I mean? Like, it's not just me. It's not just me being like, oh, I like to make videos. I love to make videos. Like, I wouldn't be doing it. Like, I'm too stubborn to do it if I didn't like it. I love making videos. But, like, my why is it like I'm literally able to like take people's businesses and like I love small businesses for this reason. Like I'm literally able to take people's small business and like give them some like top level production that they wouldn't
Right.
be able to afford or they wouldn't be able to find, or like, you know, a lot of people in the videography world, and like most of my subscribers are videographers, like other than Josiah's son, but it's like, you know, it's like most of them are like looking for the long game. Like they're trying to like book Fortune 500 companies and Nike and Adidas and stuff like that. And I have no desire to do that. Like I want to like my why is things like Tableau and Barbecue and Bows, you know, and like Waynesburg Barbershop. Like
Right.
that's my why. My why is not let's get to the top. Like my why is like let's actually like influence people and like let's actually pour into people and let's actually like make a difference. And it's like it goes back to like that whole it's like, oh, it's just a bunch of nothing and it's vain. And it's like, yeah, but like you have to know your all's why. You all aren't sitting down trying to like save the world. You know what I mean? And
No,
it's
man.
like, and it would be different if you all were
It
like,
says who?
if you were like Alex Jones, you know what I mean? You're like in here, like, listen, guys, I'm telling your friends, this is awful, and it's just like it would be different if you were like that serious about it. But it's like you all know your why, and like I think that's what's so important. Like you got to make content for yourself, and one of the ways that you make content for yourself is like figure out why in the world do you even want to make content, because unfortunately it may come to the point where it's like, well, I don't even want to. It's just everyone else is doing it, and I thought I'd want to do it, so I don't want to do it anymore. And like, that's very realistic. And it's like, it's one of the things that when I listen to your all show, I essentially like come to realize like they like if I was a hater, they literally don't care. Like they like
Zero.
Correct.
Matter of fact, if I was a hater, like I would probably come up on the show more. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be like, listen to the guy West over there from Nebraska. He's just doing this and all this. And it's like, and I think this is like a perfect spot to like wrap up this daily vlog. And it's like, if you're not creating for yourself, it's not going to be sustainable. Like, know your why. That way you can like pursue enjoyment in it. And it's like, I know not everyone who watches my channel is a Christian, but like God is most satisfied in you when you're most or God is most glorified in you when you're most satisfied in him. Like there's no reason to be a grumpy butt through life. So it's like if you're going to make content, enjoy it, know why you're doing it, and the quality, the consistency, the confidence, the not being stuck in like a cookie cutter, you know, mixing it up, all that stuff will come, you know. And you all have found that because like your all's episodes are like completely different. Like this week's episode was completely different from most every episode. And it's like, I just enjoy that. But guys, I appreciate you like, you know, choosing to come in on like my massive YouTube channel with all 38.
It's bigger than our YouTube channel.
Since
So
Lucas decided to subscribe. But tell them where they can find you.
Aaron, tell him I never remember.
so I used to do it weekly, but I push a button now and it does it for me. But so on Instagram, we're at the Punctually Late Show. On Facebook, I guess you could say facebook.com/the Punctually Late Show.
Yeah.
And really, that's the only two places that we're at. And then you can listen to us on Apple.
Wherever you listen
Everything
to podcasts.
Yeah,
podcast,
Apple,
right?
Yeah.
Spotify, wherever.
Yeah, just search The Punctually Late Show,
Yeah.
and you'll find us on there, and you'll find, like, I mean,
It's
I don't
a
even know how
myriad
many
of-
episodes we're at now. I have no clue
It's
how
like
many
52
episodes
or
we've made.
53. Like
I think we're at 58.
probably 35 of the episodes is literally them just calling me a vegan.
Yeah,
So,
it's true.
but
It's true.
But yeah, guys, I appreciate you. If you made it this long in the vlog, I appreciate it. If you haven't, I literally don't care about you anymore. And as always, stay blessed and continue.